So this is a quick walkthrough of my little nursery that I have going on in my back patio. Let's start over here. So initially what I was doing is I was just growing different types of moss, and as I was developing, I really didn't have much to do with it outside of switching the moss out on my trees that I already have potted. So what I did, like in this particular one, this is some moss that I collected in the city. I went ahead and planted a tree seed here, and it's a seed that I found. It's since sprouted. I typically keep these saplings covered until they develop more, as I did here. You can see I have 2 plum trees that have sprouted, and those yellow strips are for gnats to help keep them under control. So once they sprout, like I cover them after they get big enough that the birds and the squirrels can't destroy them. I've since learned that if I uncover them too soon, they can be destroyed. This one I wanted to get a little bigger, and then I will uncover it more often during the day. It's a little greenhouse. I come out here every so often, and I'll let some air in it. This one, in this experiment with this particular tree, it does not have air holes punched into it. This one does. You can see the air hole right there above the label. And let's go over here. You see all these flowers that drop. I believe these flowers are from the invasive species tree of heaven, and they just drop millions and millions of these seeds everywhere. Let me open this up. And so this is another one full of moss that I collected. So what the ones that are more elevated, like here, are the original collected moss, and they since have spread. And if you look, I'll zoom in. Right there, that's the tree seed that is sprouting. I do not know which one it is. Like, what I would do is, when I would collect tree seeds, if I knew what tree it was from, I would label it. Otherwise, I just put it in the bucket of seeds that I have, and I would pick them to label it. I want to get this closed, because if I don't, it'll be full of these flowers of this tree. You can see them dropping in. But I'll again zoom in so you can see this. Go from one end to the other and stop at the tree seed, and then you can see the other end. I'll close this up so those seeds can't fill this little greenhouse up that I have. These tubs make for really great greenhouses. Some of them, like here, this has multiple maple trees already sprouted in it. A few of the other ones were destroyed by squirrels or birds. These are surviving. This one has not sprouted yet, so I keep it covered for now. This one hasn't sprouted yet. All of these soil mixes are different. This one hasn't sprouted. That one has it. And what happens, it has its own little atmosphere. This is one that I keep uncovered, and you can see the little maple tree sapling that sprouted there. Excuse me. There's another one. If you can't see it, I'll point it out right here. The other one that was in here was damaged and killed by either a bird or a squirrel. Here's another one. And so basically, the plan is that when, after these have sprouted like they have, this is the, this little greenhouse will serve as its pot, and it'll be allowed to develop its roots in here. The intention is that the flatness of this plastic bin will allow the roots to develop without it developing a thick tap root. Just an experiment, just getting started with it. So at nighttime, what I do is I come out here and I cover this, because if I don't cover it, it'll switch from the nighttime critters to the, from the daytime critters to the nighttime critters, and the nighttime critters are just, they're very destructive. They're out here digging, and those are possums and raccoons and rats and mice. They're just out digging and everything. In the city, we have to just live with it. This is one that I just put together yesterday. Now, I know the seeds that are in here because I purposely planted 2 Lagerstromia. That's crepe myrtle seeds are in here. Now, this is a mix of potting soil, rose petals. So that's that. It's all potted, but I just potted this, so pretty much waiting on those seeds to sprout. I don't do anything special. The seeds either sprout or they don't. This is a different type of greenhouse that I've created where it's open air, but the plastic top is on here. And I'll open this up so you can see different types of maple. And I have a really miniature Camilla Cypress Pacifier at the front on the right. Really tiny. This here is an American sycamore cutting that is still alive, and it has a bud. Let's see if it'll zoom in. And so I've been just keeping it. Hopefully it will sprout. It has roots, I should say. Hopefully it'll make a leaf, but I keep this covered like here to keep critters off of it, and then I cover this like that to control the sunlight so it doesn't burn. Over here I have a miniature Camilla Cypress Pacifier garden. And so you can see here's one of the Camilla Cypress. You can see that. This is all new growth right here. All that yellow and green is new growth. Especially that's new growth. And here's the last one. I have a mix of lava rock and marble, different types of rocks, and this is some wood. And the rest is just different species of moss. And down here it's marble, moss, and pine bark to control flooding. This area does flood quite a bit. This is just here to control erosion. This stone brick and all that lava rock helps control flooding and erosion. So let's go over here. This is my water collection system. Those brown bits are Thuringiensis israelensis. It's a bacteria to help kill mosquito larvae. And this is a willow oak. It has a really wicked turn, and it's this is a natural turn. It got caught on its original acorn, and that caused that turn right there. I have 2 willow oaks. And these are miniature greenhouses. And so just waiting for them to sprout. All of these have air holes in them. So what happens is you can see the condensation that builds up. I'll open one. Just waiting for the trees. And some have moss in them, some don't. Just waiting for the tree seeds to sprout. This one already, wow, look at that. I didn't even know that had sprouted. Look at that. That's a maple tree seed. Pretty amazing. But I'll keep it covered because it's very young. See this one. All the rest of them has tree seeds in them. In those pots, those are normal plantings of seeds and just waiting. I'll just leave that there for as long as it takes. They all have tree seeds in them. So I did the same thing with this willow oak, where I planted the seed, the acorn, and just left it. I didn't touch it. And then like months later, I have forgotten what was even in the pot, and then months later, the willow oak popped out. So with this particular, this is a double potted system I have here, where the tree is a red maple is potted in a sieve, and then the sieve is on a stand, and it's on top of soil that is a mix of lava rock, rose petals, pink and red rose petals, gardening soil, and a little bit of mulch. So I'll show you. So what this does, the roots are allowed to grow through the bottom. I don't know if you can see the roots coming out the bottom. The roots are allowed to come out the bottom, and when they start seeking and searching, they end up growing into this soil bed and whatnot, and just keep growing. It's just another this is a tree that was grown from seed, and so it's just a method I'm trying to see if it helps to thicken the truck and create a nice nabari. This is one of my seed beds where the tree was damaged. Here it is. Squirrel or birds bit it in half, but it's still alive, and it's since sprouted a new leaf. So I just leave that there. Here's another seed that sprouted. And this is just full of seeds. There's another one that sprouted over there. They are maple tree seeds, so I'm just waiting. Now up here, these are trees that I keep off the ground. Typically, the only vermin that crawls up here are mice. Right now, I've got seeds from this tree just raining down on top of my head. You can see them; they're all over the table here. So here I have a red maple and a willow oak planted in this. This is a windowsill pot. So they're going to stay in here for as long as it takes for them to develop their root system. I'm looking for a, I keep a pair of plastic tweezers out here because I do not like for leaves to get in here. So whenever I see them, I take them out. I'll just clean that out later. I still don't know what species. This particular tree is growing from an acorn. Let me show you something. The acorn is actually right there. The tree is still connected to it. You see that? But I keep it covered because if I don't, one of these little tree predators will come and try to get it. And so that's helped. That little camouflage I just did with it helps, where I keep that little piece of moss over it. But I do not know what kind of willow oak this is. I've never seen this leaf style before, and I haven't been able to get it identified. Here on this particular planting, this is a cutting. It's a about a 2-year-old cutting. I took this cutting in 2019. Right now, it's all rooted. You can see the surface roots there. My plan is just to leave it alone and in this pot, as long as it doesn't show any signs of stress. This Nabari is actually on top of a big rock, and then I have different types of soil. It has a very rocky mix of gardening soil and traditional bonsai soil is in here. And when I first took this cutting, the twin trunk was very, very thin, and it just responded well. I had hundreds of Camilla Cypress Pacifier cuttings, and this is one that survived. And so it'll stay in this pot for a while. I'm not going to touch it. I don't even touch it to remove like this little critter that's growing out of it. I'm just going to leave it as long as it doesn't get in the way. And I have a maple tree growing in a closed vase. And there I have a little maple tree grove. I also collected a pine cone, and out of that pine cone I planted 2 seeds from it, and here's one that has grown, and this is another. I collected the pine cone from nearby Ronald Reagan Airport in Virginia, in Crystal City. And this is another experiment where I'm trying to thicken the trunk and develop the surface roots by keeping this planted in this common kitchen utensil. And hopefully, I'm not going to do anything to it. I'm not going to repot it unless it shows signs of stress. I keep an eye on these air holes to see if the roots are coming out. So far, they're not. There are a lot of roots in here. Sometimes when I lift up these little, I have these little moss pads just to check and see if critters. I'm doing pretty good in controlling aphids and whiteflies. I use neem oil, and I use a 50-50 mix of water and rubbing alcohol. So these are some compositions that I am experimenting with, where I have really teeny tiny trunks. See how small that is. And this leaf pattern is normal size. This one has got some browning on the tip. I don't know what's causing this browning, and it has 2 spots where it's browning. And this is something new that just started happening. This cutting here, I believe, I've had this cutting for 2 years. It's been alive and it's been small. This is another one where I'm trying to shape this into the form of a flying boomerang. And again, it has this really tiny trunk. And it's Camilla Cypress Pacifier. And this is my 3rd one. And let me pick this up so you can see the profiles on it. And this is another one that I've had for a couple of years developing it. It had been showing signs of stress, and I ended up having to repot this about a week ago, just to loosen up the soil because it was browning on the tips. You can still see some of it. It's not as bad as it was. A little bit, even here, just a little bit right there. And so with this red maple, I'm not going to do any trimming to it or anything. I'm going to leave it in this kitchen utensil as long as I can until it drops its leaves. I'm not going to cut it or anything. This is a tree grown from seed. It's now, it'll be 2 years old. come this fall, right around August. It'll be 2 years old. I've run out of the fertilizer that I use for my trees. I have to buy some more. I use this fertilizer called Dyna-Grow. It's a liquid fertilizer. Okay, so this here composition, I use a mix of rocks, gravel, stones, and lichen covered tree bark. I'll come around so you can see it. And this particular tree, this is a Sycamore Maple. I'll back up so you can see it. This tree is grown from seed. So this particular tree is sitting on top of a wood block that I got from Home Depot. It's actually inside the soil. And this is from the wood block out is extended this piece of bark right here. It's actually built into the soil. I have a little cave-like thing going on there. And this one here, again, I'm not going to do any pruning to it this year. I'm just going to let it leaf out, grow wildly as much as it wants, and it's just another experiment where I'm trying to get this trunk thickened. And it's really developed well over the course of the last year. And over here, that's my Camilla Cypress Pacifier. I don't style that or anything. It's just a tree that I really love the coloration on it, and I want the canopy just to get as big as it wants. I check it for signs of stress, and it's good at showing you if it's stressed out by like with the other little ones. I told you the tips turn brown, and if that happens, I go ahead and I repot it. Pretty much I'm not going to develop much more than what I have now, because it can be overwhelming trying to maintain enough rainwater to water all this stuff down, because I also have to work on spraying down this area here. I spray this area down with alcohol, a mix of alcohol and water and hydrogen peroxide and water, because I have found that over the course of the last 2 years it keeps the insects at bay. So that's pretty much it. I got into the hobby a couple of years ago, and I'm trying to develop things that I haven't seen before, but also in ways that I haven't seen before, because like you take for example this pot here and that pot there, between these two, this is almost $100 just for these two pots. These smaller pots are only about $7. I believe I only paid $5 for this one. $7 and $7 for those pots. There's another colored pot that I want. It's a bluish color. I really love these pots. Look at that. So in my compositions, the pot and whatever I use to design are as much as importance as the tree that's growing in it. So I don't want either one to overwhelm. I want them to kind of work together. I do have to come out here occasionally, like with here you see these flowers that get dropped into my pots. The one thing I need help now with is identifying a few things, especially with these pine trees. I thought they were Japanese black pine, but I don't think they are. And that, again, that one oak right there that you see in the background. I think the only tree I didn't cover yet are these two. So you see these two trees here. These two are cuttings from that tree right there. So I took these two cuttings from this tree when it was very, very young. I actually made videos on them. And these two, again, I'm not going to do any pruning. I'm just letting them grow. I'm trying to get the trunks to thicken up. And this method here is just something I decided to try after watching a whole bunch of videos. I'm trying to do things a little different. I have got tremendous growth on these two cuttings and the parent tree in the background there just over the last couple of years. It's a lot of fun. And these are some seeds that I have These are the seeds that I grow my trees from. These are a mix of plum trees, Japanese maple, Acer palmatum, and I have 2 different variations of pine. One I have not collected a seed out of. No, I think I collected 1 seed out of. I got Lagerstromia in here as well, a Natchez variety of crepe myrtle. But I'm not planting any more seeds this year. So that's it. I hope you enjoyed that. And please, hope you like this video and have a nice day.